The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. The month of January is designated as Mentoring Month. And since role modeling for Bronx youth is such a large issue and has been for years, I thought tonight we'd come at it from two different angles. For one, we'll talk with big brothers, big sisters and find out why the Bronx lags behind the other boroughs when it comes to finding mentors. And we'll also talk with a West Bronx community center about its activities, how they empower young Bronx people, and older too, to do better through a variety of activities. So tonight, on Martin Luther King's birthday, we'll take a look at Each One, Teach One in the Bronx. Because of the holiday, we are on tape tonight, and so there will be no phone calls, but you can email questions or comments to us at bronxtalk@hotmail.com. And we'll read those on the air during a future edition of our program. But for now, here in our studio, the Chief Quality Assurance Officer for Big Brothers Big Sisters of NYC, Michael Coughlin. Good evening, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And from New Settlement Community Center, 172nd Street in Jerome.
That's it.
Okay, it's Executive Director Jack Doyle. Thank you for coming.
Great to be here.
Let's start with you, Mr. Coughlin. Let's define the terms. We've seen the commercials. We all know about Big Brothers, Big Sisters. From the real standpoint, what is it? Who is it for? How does it operate? And basically, why are you here? What do you have to tell us tonight?
Sure. Big Brothers Big Sisters is the first and largest mentoring organization. We currently serve about 3,600 kids in New York City each year. But we estimate there's about 400,000 kids living in New York City right now that could use a mentor. So while our programs are growing, the number is astronomical, and the reason we can't provide those extra mentors is because we just don't have them. So, really today I'm here to talk about, the need for more mentors and how people in the Bronx can get involved.
Let's talk specifics. When you say they mentor them, what do? They call them every day? Do they take them to the park? And define also, maybe I should even ask before that, who are these 400,000 that you identified that could use this service?
Sure, absolutely. Those 400,000 kids are kids who are living in a single-parent home. They're living below the poverty line. They're living in a situation where they just need somebody there to help them out. As far as mentoring and what we ask from our mentors, we ask for an 8-hour a month commitment, so it's 2 times per month, and it's really open. You get to do whatever you want with the child that you're matched with. I mean, go to a park, go to a museum, see a movie, whatever it is. It's the relationship sort of takes on a life of its own, and that's really what mentoring is all about. It's just spending time with the person that you're matched with.
Mm-hmm. What we'll do is we're going to ask a similar kind of question of Mr. Doyle. Then we're going to talk about what we see when they go through these programs and your programs and how well they do, and then we'll bring in the people of the Bronx and ask them to engage in both of the programs more so. Talk to me about the communities that you serve and how you serve them.
Sure. So the New Settlement Community Center opened in September of 2012 and really grew out of about 20 years of work of New Settlement apartments in the Southwest Bronx, concentrated in the Mount Eden neighborhood primarily. And, for 20 years we've been providing housing, running after-school programs, operating summer day camps, working with disconnected youth, working with young people to get them on track for college. And kind of the latest step in our work and engagement in that community was constructing the New Settlement Community Campus, which houses the New Settlement Community Center, as well as 2 public schools. And the idea was to bring to a neighborhood that was long devoid of opportunities and resources, especially as they related to, recreation, learning skills such as swimming, participating in dance programs, to bring those to the community that we've been in, that we serve, and that we are committed to continuing to serve.
So many of our community centers do an unbelievable job, and New Settlement is certainly no different. And Mr. Doyle brought us, these pamphlets with all these really interesting activities. I mean, there are individual activities listed here, of course, in English and Spanish, I guess that is.
Yes.
And they're not listen, we know about little leagues. We know you say that you have swimming, you have all these other kinds of things. But, I'm looking here at Brazilian martial arts, at, all these other kinds of things. Come Dance with the Alvin Ailey dance folks, obviously the swim programs. Talk to me about the most popular programs and what you think in particular would be real attractive to people who aren't familiar with your programs just yet.
Yeah, sure. I think 2 of the things that stand out in my mind is our swimming program. And, each week during the school day, over 800 children from neighborhood schools come to the New Settlement Community Campus to swim. And it's
How many?
Over 800 every week, coming from neighborhood schools.
You got a reaction of your your guest mate here.
Yeah, no, we're very
raised
excited
an eyebrow.
about it. And they come for 32 weeks each child of swimming instruction. So this isn't just recreational, although the goal is to have fun, but it's also giving these young kids an opportunity to develop some skills, a sense of competency, a sense of confidence in what they're able to do. And our hope is that as these kids get older, we'll be able to offer them the opportunity to be trained as lifeguards. So they'll be able to, have a part-time job, a summer job.
A relatively new community center in the Bronx. Number one, how did it get funded to the point where you actually got it built? Every neighborhood in the world is saying we want more activities for our kids. We'd love more places like this. And then number 2, who pays for the programs?
Okay, so in terms of how it was built, it was a very unique partnership that involved many entities, actually the New York City School Construction Authority, the New York City Department of Health, Settlement Housing Fund, New Settlement Apartments. There was low-income tax credit financing. There was financing that came through some of our elected officials, and also through foundations like the Pinkerton Foundation. So we were basically able to open in September 2012 with no debt, which means we can focus. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. That means we're able to focus our energies on building the program, expanding the programs we have to offer, and keeping the programs free or very, very affordable.
And then the second part of the question is how do you run a swimming program? You have the pool, the insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone, not to mention Alvin Ailey and the dance.
Yeah, we continue to reach out to individuals and philanthropic organizations to get support. We charge modest fees for some of the programs. Other programs we do in partnership, for example, with Asphalt Green, which is a renowned aquatics program in Manhattan. So it's a variety of different means of funding it and continuing to fund it and trying to grow and expand.
Now let's talk about the good news. So
Yes,
kids go through the program. Give me a before and after. Maybe either describe somebody you know or in general when they start a program, and then how you see them develop and what do they become and what do these programs lend to them and then, of course, to the Bronx community.
Well, one thing we announced just this past week is a pre-swimming team. Pre-swimming team, the Blue Seals. So we opened in September of 2012. There were young people who came to us, had no skills at swimming at all, and now there are enough of them who have progressed through level 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and have developed a level of competency in swimming that now we're able to move them into a pre-team type of setting where they'll be able to develop their skills further and become competitive swimmers.
Talk to me about them as people, though. I mean, I'm going to assert that those kids who see themselves achieve at something, and maybe if they have not achieved in other things, will then go into school with a little more confidence.
I think there's no doubt.
Represent themselves and their families with more confidence.
That's right. I think parents, I mean, a lot of us are parents, and I think one of the things that makes us very happy is to see our children happy. And I think this has been an opportunity for kids to kind of, have the spotlight on them a little bit, to be disciplined in going about learning, and to have something to show for it.
Mr. Coughlin, same question for you. Let's talk about the results? I mean, we say, okay, we want somebody to be mentored, we want somebody to be with somebody. Talk to me about either in general or specifically about, what Big Brothers Big Sisters does for young people in the city of New York and, of course, in the Bronx.
Absolutely. I see mentoring work every single day. What we know is that if a child goes through our program, 96% of those kids are going to graduate from high school, and 96% of those kids are going to graduate from high school.
Remember that number, folks.
And 90% of the kids that graduate from high school are going to enroll in college. That's compared to 60% or 61% in New York City overall. I've heard statistics as low as 25% of those kids are college ready when they graduate. So
and these are maybe the most at-risk kids in the city or in the Bronx.
Yeah, absolutely. Across the city. I mean, what we're trying to do is provide guidance and support to kids that don't already have it. So, just by that, in definition, we're going to be working with higher risk kids.
Funded how? With government funding or funded through normal grants like any not-for-profit? Tell me how Big Brothers Big Sisters is
sure.
funded.
So through private foundations, through government foundations, through private donors around the city. Big Brothers Big Sisters is 110 years old this year. So over the course of our history, we've definitely gotten the support of New York City and get money from all over the place. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Let's that number that was floated to me somewhere along the way about the number of Bronx kids that could be mentored and the low number of Bronx mentors. Let's address that a little bit.
Sure.
Explain to me what it is, what the numbers are, and why do you think we have this issue?
Great. The number currently, and what we do is we track sort of the number of volunteers we have from certain boroughs around the city, as well as the number of kids we have from those boroughs. We know that approximately 26% of the kids that we serve are coming from the Bronx, and about 5% of the volunteers that we serve as an organization are coming from the Bronx.
There's a clear disparity.
And that represents the largest gap in any of the boroughs around New York City. So what we try to do is get creative with it. We're trying to reach out to Bronx barbershops, Bronx organizations, not-for-profit organizations, other mentoring organizations, shoe shine shops. Who else have we gone to? Almost anybody.
Well, tell me who we're looking for, and let's really reach. We'll reach right out to our audience and say, "Come on now, let's step up to the plate. Let's be Bronxites here."
Sure.
So, who is it that we're looking for? Give me the type of person that could be a good brother and sister.
Sure, pretty much anybody. I mean, our age requirements are 21 years and older, and if you
21 years and older.
21 years and older, and outside of that, if you've been in the city for 6 months or longer, and you have experiences in your life that you'd like to pass on to somebody else, you are fit to be a mentor in our program.
Mm-hmm. What is the qualification period? Obviously, there's a review of whoever it is. We only want certainly stable people. So explain a little bit about that. So and then there is a website for this.
There is a website, sure. So we do have a background check that all volunteers go through. So anybody who's interested in volunteering is going to come in. They'll be interviewed by Big Brothers Big Sisters. They'll go through a background check process. We'll go through an initial training and screening, and the whole process takes about a month and a half, and then you're matched with your big or your little.
And how long do you stay with that person?
Sure.
In other words, is it like a year long, or as long as you want? How does that work?
So we do ask for a 1-year commitment, but we've found that once we match a big and a little, on average they stay together for 23 to 24 months. So what we're looking for is a long-term relationship. I mean, we'd like to see, one day the big is the best man at the little's wedding or something like that. Those are the stories that we try to focus on. But we know that volunteers that give us a year are usually going to give us 2 years just because that connection is built in.
Can you have a family? Let's say you have other children. There may be parents who say, oh, okay, we'll take the whole family out with somebody and in essence bring them in. Can you do that?
Sure, you can do that, but not up front. What we're really trying to do is focus on one-to-one.
Okay, that makes sense.
So as the relationship is building and the mentoring relationship is sort of getting started, we ask that all outings are just one-to-one. And then as the relationship develops over time, you sort of hit that year mark, you become comfortable with one another. Very possible to have family outings and or connect your big or your little to your
go to the movies, go to the botanical garden, go to the zoo, go to the park. spend a day walking, have a catch in the park or something. I mean, all of these activities.
Absolutely. And we actually focus on low to no cost activities. I mean, we don't want you to spend any money. Mentoring doesn't cost a dime, really. It's just a matter of spending some time.
Walking in the park, and you're saying 2 4-hour sessions. Walking in the park and having a conversation. It's probably as valuable as just about anything else. Mr. Doyle, I wanted to ask you about something you mentioned, and then some of the other things I found in your materials, and that is the notion of schools in relation to or in association with the new settlement. Now, there are many community centers throughout the Bronx not partnered with the school. Talk to me about that relationship, and I assume how that becomes a mutually supportive effort.
Yeah, at New Settlement, we're big supporters of public schools. We believe that every child requires and should be entitled to a decent education. And so we set out to form a partnership whereby we would forge this community school, a school that would be comprehensive, that would address the needs of the whole child. We pulled in many other partners. We have the good fortune of having 2 extraordinary principals, one for the upper school, which is 6th to 12th grade school, another outstanding principal for the elementary school. Montefiore School-Based Health Services has set up a comprehensive clinic. We've worked
in the school or in
the school.
I don't want to mix and match.
Yeah, well, it's all in one building, but within the school, to serve the students, the 1,100 students, there's a comprehensive school-based clinic, a full-time doctor, full-time nurse, a mental health practitioner.
I feel like standing up and applauding.
Yeah, a community health educator. I mean, and they've been phenomenal, and the principals have been very receptive from day one to embracing this idea of partnership.
Are you physically in the same space? I mean, the time that I was at the new settlement, I only saw kind of the activities part.
Sure, yeah, no, you walk through a door and you're in the school.
Is there, now one of the things that I've heard from talking to community centers over the years is, especially now that there's not a lot of, extra curricular stuff, or as much as used to be going on in the schools, that the kids come in there looking for enrichment that they don't get in the school. I'm hoping that you're going to tell me that there is a relationship between what some of the kids teach in the classroom and then what you guys might do in an after-school
In fact,
center.
the 2 schools that are within the building, their children come to swim in our pool every single week. We worked with Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. I mean, Alvin Ailey has come to the Bronx. This is a world-renowned dance company that performs at City Center, performs at Lincoln Center, and those same instructors who teach down at Alvin Ailey Center on 55th Street are teaching in the Bronx, and they're teaching young people as young as 4 all the way up to adults. They're teaching ballet and modern dance and hip-hop and jazz, a wider range.
You know, when I looked at the demographics, you had sent me some material about demographics of the young people, and I shouldn't say only young people, because I know you serve certainly seniors and many others, but the people, poor dietary habits, limited physical activities, so there's diabetes, hypertension, asthma, high poverty, seems to me, I don't want to say hopeless, but thankless. Do you feel like as you are working every day, you're actually getting somewhere? Or do you say, like, I'm just never going to be able to get my arms around this?
Oh, no. We embrace, hopefulness, and every day we experience young people, parents, grandparents, who are just amazing in terms of not only their resilience, but their commitment to trying to improve their community and improve, their own lives and the lives of their children.
This is a leading question. I don't want to put you on the spot, but it brings in our friend, Mr. Coughlin. Is there a mentoring program, or is mentoring done kind of implicitly when you have a young person in an after-school center? And then I'm going to say, come on, guys, let's get it together.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. We don't have a formal one-on-one mentoring program. I mean, we try to instill in all of our staff that they are role models. We do extensive staff development work. And I think mentoring is something, I remember when I was in college, I was a mentor.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what, which reminds me, we have a 30-second spot, a quick 30-second thing, just so people could see what the programs are. Michael, you'll be entertained as well. So let's take a look. This is New Settlement Community Center. Before we run out of time, let's play it.
The New Settlement Community Center has something for everyone. Located in the Mount Eden section of the Bronx, our brand new state-of-the-art facility is like nothing you've ever seen before, featuring a 75-foot indoor heated pool, rooftop garden, and dance studio. With annual membership starting at just $50, our high-quality programming and warm, welcoming staff will keep you committed to a healthy you.
like to watch my guests when they see something like that, and Mr. Doyle is beaming with pride right now, right?
That's great.
You know, when you look at that, and of course the stereotypes we get of the Bronx, people would not say, "Oh, that's the Bronx," but that is the Bronx.
That is the Bronx.
And I'd really, like to make an appeal to folks, especially those who live in the area of 172nd and Jerome. This is a great opportunity to get involved, to walk in, pop in with your kids and say, "Hey, is there something here you'd like?" And if the kids start resisting, put them in a program. Believe me, they'll enjoy it. So, and we've got the website, or I guess it's a Facebook page on the screen. Mr. Coughlin, let's talk about you've got websites. There was a website that I was told that you set up specifically for the Bronx.
Absolutely.
I like that.
So the Big Brothers Big Sisters website is bigsnyc.org, so bigsnyc.org. So if you're interested in becoming a mentor with us directly, you visit. But we've also created a coalition with other organizations around the Bronx to try to increase volunteerism in the Bronx. We call that the Bronx Volunteer Coalition. And we've built a website specifically for sort of cataloging and putting in one place all of the volunteer opportunities that are out there. So that's bxvc.org. We currently have about 29 organizations from around the Bronx that are partnering with us, and there are close to 50 opportunities on that. So anything you want to do, it's a one-stop shop, and you can see the different opportunities there in your neighborhood.
Hearing what you say makes me think maybe colleges and universities would be a good place. Can I assume that there is a relationship, or there's a budding relationship between BBBS and the Borough of Universities?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, because it seems to me you could find a lot of mentors through that process. More difficult now than it used to be to find mentors, or is it just always somewhat of a struggle? Does it fluctuate, or do things change?
It does fluctuate. I mean, we are seeing more volunteers stepping forward now. So that's a good thing. Absolutely a great thing. And I would say over the last 5 or 10 years, volunteerism has sort of taken on, and it's growing in the city. But again, I'll come back to that need is so great that it's
in the BX.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think after 9/11 there was a renewed spirit, not only here, of course, but throughout the country about those kinds of things. One of the other things, Mr. Doyle, in my discussion with colleagues of yours who run community centers, especially when they get challenged, like, uh-oh, we're going to lose this program. You're an employer as well. I'm assuming that to run these programs, you're putting Bronx people to work. So
Absolutely.
talk to me about they don't realize, well, it's a not-for-profit. They think you're just a drain on the economy, but you're actually feeding the economy.
Absolutely. So New Settlement Apartments, which is focused in the Mount Eden neighborhood, I mean, we have about 165 employees, and at the community center itself, we have over 25. I'm thinking of one young person who just last year signed up to be in the lifeguard training program we offered, and he's now one of our lifeguards. He lives 3 blocks from the center, and instead of making $7.50 an hour, he's making $12 an hour. So he started at $12 an hour, and the next step for him will hopefully be getting certified as a water safety instructor. He'll be making $14 an hour.
Other programs that inspire young people, and again, it fits right in with what they do at Big Brother, Big Sisters. You have a Culinary Explorers program.
We do.
Explain what that is.
Well,
by the way, a Big Brother, Big Sister could take somebody cooking, take them to a restaurant. I mean, I know you don't want to do something that means money, but bring them in the home and cook a meal with them. Goodness gracious, or bake a cake or something. The kid would be thrilled. I'd be thrilled. Take me. Go ahead.
So this building has the pool I mentioned, has a dance studio. It also has a rooftop garden with raised beds, and it has what we call the cooking classroom. And so we have young people who, they get engaged in growing things, and it's from, the planting bed to the kitchen. And they get an opportunity to be exposed to foods that maybe they've never tasted before. There were some young people who recently made a delicious kale salad with kale and apples and a dressing.
And they've never been exposed.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
So, it's one of the many programs we have for young people to expose them to, the world beyond their immediate neighborhood. And also at the same time to help them think about, their well-being in terms of health, nutrition.
You know, before we run out of time, let's also talk about, because we've really been focusing on young people, but you mentioned seniors, and I'm assuming there's also like a whole family could be involved, parents and adults.
Absolutely, sure. We have hours each week and almost every day of the week for family swim. We have, for senior citizens who want to get in the water, we have deep water exercise, water aerobics. We have classes called fear of swimming classes for someone who late in life, having suffered some kind of trauma when they were younger that made them afraid of the water, they now resolve they want to learn to swim, they can come and learn to swim. We have a partnership with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society where people who have MS are able to come to the center each week.
You know, there's also, I've got a list here, Shape Up New York and New York Cares and all these things.
Lots of partners.
Partnerships is the way to go for you to survive.
Without a doubt.
I mean, you know, with the school, with all these other programs, Alvin Ailey, you have a program with Asphalt Green, I understand.
So it's really collective impact, bringing together.
Jane, let's get their information up before we conclude with Mr. Coughlin as well. So let's make the pitch. What do people in the Bronx need to know about Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and how can they help?
Sure. What they need to know is that we currently have a wait list of about 150 kids. 100 of those kids are from the Bronx.
Wait list of 100, I'm repeating for a reason. Wait list for 150 kids. I mean, you know, count how many children that is who really just want somebody to talk to.
They already step forward and ask for a mentor, and we're just looking to provide that.
And so it could be a one Saturday for the 8 hours, or a Saturday, Sunday, or after school from 4 to 8 p.m., you know, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And then is there a Bronx office to go through, or do they go to Manhattan? How do you set it up?
Sure. There is a Bronx office. So we partner with the JCCA with a satellite office, so we can conduct interviews. It's on 3rd Avenue and 149th Street.
Okay.
And so we can conduct interviews, intake there. Match everything can go right out of that office. Our main office is in Manhattan, but there are satellite offices.
I want to thank Michael Coughlin and Big Brother, Big Sisters, and Jack Doyle from New Settlement Community Center. I'm going to say this is going to sound funny, but I mean it. Thank you for saving the world, and thank you for saving our kids.
Gary.
Because if we don't have people like you doing these programs, then we're going to have nothing. And as someone very close to me says, it's not that complicated. Let's get more mentors out there. Let's get more people in New Settlement. And guess what? All the indicators that we're all upset about will do better and better in the Bronx. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Gary. It's been good to be here.
And folks, if you have further comments or questions on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, then email them to us at bronxtalk@hotmail.com or post them on our Facebook page, and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. Also, please make sure that you check out our Facebook page and become a fan on Facebook. You can see our archives at bronxnet.org. Check out the Bronx Talk link at the bottom right-hand navigation bar. We're here Monday nights at 9 o'clock, and thanks to Jane Folloro, our producer. Our director is Shirley Arrieta. Studio coordinator is Dina Valentin. And guess what? We'll see you next week, as always. Good night.
Catch us every Friday at 4:30 and anytime on the web by going to www.bronxnet.org.